Hi, good evening. I'd like to welcome you to Poem Praise 2, and peace and blessings be upon you and your family this evening. Now, we are going to get right back into Daddy Talk. Currently, right now, we're on chapter number 2, and this is take 2 here on Poem Praise 2. And just to reiterate what the title of chapter 2 is, it's The Voice of a Father. There are many instructors, but few fathers. So without further ado, it reads as such. 5 characteristics of an eagle. They have great vision. They see things from afar. They only feed off fresh food. They never run from a storm. They are particular in who they hang out with. They fly by themselves. As I mentioned earlier, children need the father's voice to speak to their identity. So many of our youth today are dealing with an identity crisis. They don't know who they are. So they end up becoming like everything else around them. The voice of a father must be there to help the child discover who he is. If the voice of the father is not around, the child will always be searching for his identity. The reason why we are seeing more and more young people putting tattoos on their bodies and the sagging of the pants and the body piercing is all because our children are trying to find their own identity. This behavior is not just a fashion statement. No, it is as a result of a father's voice not being there. It is a father's voice that brings out the strength in a child and helps them to overcome their weaknesses. The absence of his voice can feed into their weakness and insecurities. Dr. Miles Monroe has a little saying that says, "The greatest tragedy in life is not death, but to be alive and not know why." When purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. If you don't know who you are, you will end up becoming something that you are not. The father appeals to the child's strengths. He knows their capabilities. I have 3 beautiful little ones, Starlet, Shakina, and Samuel, all whom I am very proud of. As their father, I am proud of the accomplishments they have made from day to day and year to year. My children are my heart and my joy. My son, little Samuel, is involved in different sports. I have observed a difference in his attitude when I stand on the sidelines. When I am there, it is as if he is saying, "I want to prove something to my dad." When he falls down and hears me say, "Get back up," or "You can play harder than that," he pushes himself more. My 2 daughters, Starlet and Shakina, enjoy it when I am at their music recitals. They may not say anything, but their father's presence means everything. Being a dad, I understand my children are still young and innocent, very vulnerable, and apt to make mistakes. I truly believe that the early years of a child's life are the most important times in their lives. That is why children need the father's voice. Therefore, it is important that even if the father and mother are not together due to some unfortunate reason, that the father's voice is still heard in their child's life. Can you take a minute and remember what it felt like when your dad was not there? Oh, I know. Of course, you dealt with it. but it's the one thing that most of us wish we could have had. Father, you have no idea how a child feels when you are not there. On a personal note, I was on a road for most of my two daughters' years of growing up. Even though my oldest daughter knew I was out making a living for our family, she resented me for a long time. At times, she was even a little rebellious, simply because I was not there when she needed me. Her behavior caused me to understand how my absence affected her, because I now understand that my voice meant more than material things to her. I've tried to do my very best to make up for lost time. I was reminded what it was like not having a father in my life. My own father died when I was very young. I didn't get a chance to really get to know him. So I grew up confused, insecure, and lacking self-discipline. My mom did the best job she could to rear us, but it was still not enough. As hard as she tried, she could never teach a boy how to be a man. It takes another man to do that. The father carries his child inheritance. A father's inheritance is not always money or material things. A father's inheritance can be knowledge, values, wisdom, influence, experience, legacy. The older I get, the more I realize how much there was a need for my father's voice in my life. There were so many things that I had to learn on my own. A lot of bumps and bruises, and a lot of pain and hardship that could have been avoided if my father had been there. The respect of a father. Most children think that they know it all and their daddy can't tell them anything. But knowledge is more important than college. The biggest myth that a majority of our children have bought into is, I really don't need my father. The biggest misconception most children have is this: I really don't need my father. Just because you have been hurt, don't believe the myth. I will deal with this issue more at the end of the book, excuse me. But for now, I will speak to this issue by saying we all need a mother and a father. That's why God created both of them. If one parent is not there, something will always be missing. Fathers, you have no idea the impact you have on your child's life. Most of the professional sports athletes say it was their fathers who inspired them. People such as Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, and many others have said it was their dad who pushed them to become what they are today. If you look at the most successful people, you can trace their success back to having a strong father figure in their life. The father of the 3 Kennedy boys sat them down and asked, "What do you want to be?" One of them said, "The President of the United States of America." At that very moment, he began to prepare him for his purpose even at an early age. They all eventually went into politics, and John F. Kennedy Jr. became one of the greatest presidents in the history of the United States. As a father, you can either be a stepping stone or an obstacle in your child's life. You are the very first man in their lives. Your daughter's future husband will be determined by the example you set in front of her. She will see in him the good or bad based upon what she saw in you. It is the same with your son. He will know how to be a man based upon what he sees in you. He is going to treat his wife, sister, and other women based on how you treated his mom. Understand that as a father, your voice can be the voice of approval or denial, a voice of acceptance or rejection, a voice of bitterness or forgiveness, and a voice of blessings or curses. It is up to you. Everything God does for us is done out of love. God never fails. God never yells. Excuse me, I said never fails, but in the book it says, but he doesn't. God never yells, screams, or calls us bad names to get our attention. And neither should we do this to each other. You don't have to be loud to be heard. Love is kind. Love is patient. Love is not rude. Love is not self-seeking. Love is not easily angered. Love never fails. Now here are some discussion questions. Certainly directed to children and to the fathers. There's 4 of them. Number 1, what would your children write on your tombstone to best describe your impact on their lives? Number 2, as a father, I commit today to. Number 3, as a young person, how would you describe your friends? Number 4, what is the most significant impact your friends have had on your life? And with that, that does complete chapter 2 here on Poem Praise 2. So I want for you to be well, take care, be blessed. And for chapter 3, I'll give you a preview. It's entitled, Daddy Talk. Hear, my children, the instruction of a father, and give attention to know understanding. So it be it thy will, I will speak with you soon here on Poem Praise 2. So be blessed. Until then, later, y'all.